Good day friends, welcome to the CEC Gurukul lecture series. I, Professor Vipin Agarwal, will be discussing about return and risk in this lecture. Whenever you make any investment, why do you make investment? You make investment with certain expectations that this investment of yours will give you certain returns. Returns in the form of some regular income, or it may be in the form of regular income, or it may be in the form of capital appreciation, or it may be both. That is, when we make investments, when we impart our money and make investment with the expectation that this money which we are imparting, this sacrifice which we are making, because every investment involves sacrifice. That is, you are leaving your present consumption, you are leaving your present pleasure, and you are leaving this present pleasure, you are making this sacrifice with the expectation that this investment, this pleasure which you are foregoing will give you a better return in future, and thereby your capital will appreciate and you will get gain out of it. With this expectation, any investor invests in any asset class. The asset class may be financial securities, it may be shares, it may be bonds, or you call it debentures, it may be real estate, it may be gold, it may be any class of asset. So whenever you make investment in these asset classes, you expect that there is a return which you will be getting out of it. And when you make investment, there is associated risk with it. No investment in the world is risk free. However, the degree may vary, the degree of risk may vary, but every investment is subject to risk. Means there is a probability attached whether the expectation return which you are expecting from this investment, whether this expected return you will get or not. So this is risk associated with that investment. So the basic aim, if I talk of the return, I will be talking of basically return in this lecture. So basic motivation force and principal reward is in the investment process is the return. The return from an investment can be revenue income, means as a layman I will call it revenue income, means the regular income or the income which will generate over a period of time, year after year. Like when you are investing in an equity share, you are expecting that this equity investment will give you a dividend income. So year after year, if you are holding that investment for a longer period of time, this investment of yours in equity shares will give you dividend income. And suppose if you are investing in bonds, this investment of yours will give you the interest, regular interest in the form of interest. If you are investing in the real estate, like say if you are investing in a house, right, not for your own residential purpose, for let out purposes, right, then the rent which you will be getting is a revenue income. So in this way you get one income which is called the revenue income, which you get on a recurring basis. And the other is that when you will dispose of this asset, when you are buying a share, at the time of selling you are expecting that the price at which you have bought it and the price at you will sell it, there will be a price difference. That is, obviously you are expecting that the price at which you will be selling the share after a period of time, that will be higher than the price which you have purchased, at which you have purchased, right. So this price differentiation is called capital gain, or is called the capital income. That is, by disposing of that asset, the extra price which you get, then your principal amount, means the amount which you have invested, is the capital gain or is the capital appreciation. If you are buying a house, if you are buying a real estate, say commercial real estate, you have bought an office, you have bought an office for 1 crore rupees. After 5 years you are selling it and you are getting it 1 crore 80 lakh rupees. So this 80 lakh rupees income, means extra money which you are getting, is your capital appreciation. And if for this period of time for which you have kept this office, you have let it out, the rental income which you are getting is a revenue income. As I said earlier, when you are investing in a share, equity share, financial assets, by and large in this in this lecture I'll be focusing on the financial asset, and that too on equity and bonds, right? So when you invest in the equity, your basic aim is to get regular income and the capital appreciation. You are expecting that when you will sell this share, you will sell at a price which is higher than your purchase price. So this is capital gain. So there are two types of income. One is regular income in form of the revenue income, and other is the capital income, which is the difference between your purchase price and the selling price. So capital gain or loss, because I am using the word gain again and again, but it is not necessary, as I said in the beginning of the lecture, that whenever you make investment, you expect that this investment will grow, this will appreciate, but it is not necessary. Many times when you buy a share from the market and after a period of time, the price at which you have purchased is less than the price at which you sell or the current market price. So if you sell it at a price which is less than the purchase price, it will be a capital loss, right? So this can happen with any of the asset class, not only with the shares, with any of the asset class. It may be real estate, it may be gold, it may be any asset class. So capital gain or loss is the difference in the end price, which we call it selling price, and the beginning price or the purchase price of the investment. So what you are noticing here, so return of an investment consists of two things. One is called revenue income, which I have just discussed. The other is called the capital income. Revenue income is the regular income which you are getting. Capital income is the difference between the purchase price and the sell price. And you are assuming if it is a capital profit, your selling price is higher than purchase price. If it is a loss, your selling price is less than the purchase price. So your revenue income plus capital income is equal to return, right? So return is equal to your revenue income plus your capital income. And if you want to calculate in terms of percentages, so I will say revenue return plus selling price minus purchase price divided by purchase price into 100, right? So that will give you the return in terms of percentage. So if I talk about the equity shares, how do you calculate the return of an equity shares? So D1 refers to, I've written a formula here. D1 refers to the dividend in a first period, dividend in a particular period, I will call it, right? So dividend plus your P1 means price at the end of the year. If I am taking 1 year as a 1 year, right? So P1 is the price at the end of the year. P0 is price at the beginning of the year, means you may call it purchase price P0, P1 is the selling price. I am presuming it that you are keeping this share for a period of 1 year and you are buying it in the beginning of the year and you are selling it at the end of the year. So in this period, if you have got any dividend out of it, so I'll say D1, dividend received at the end of the year plus the difference between the purchase price and the sale price. P1 means price at the end of the year, P0 means price at the beginning of the year, divided by P0 means the purchase price here into 100. So that will give you the percentage of return which you will be getting of this investment. Same thing I have shown it with the help of an example. Suppose Mr. Kumar purchased a share of AB Limited at a price of rupees 1250, that is 1250 rupees. He sold the share after receiving dividend income of rupees 110 at the end of the year at a price of rupees 1540, means the purchase price is 1250, the selling price is 1540 and the dividend income is 110 during the year. So how much return which this Mr. Kumar has got? So if you want to calculate this formula I have just told you, so return is equal to 100 D1, that is the dividend. Dividend is 110 rupees plus P1 means the price at the end of the year, 1540 is the price at the end of the year. The purchase price is 1250, P0 is the purchase price, right? Price in the beginning of the period divided by your purchase price or price in the beginning of the year, 1250 into 100, right? So that gives you 32%. So if this is the case that an investor has received the dividend of 110 rupees in a year, he disposed of the share at 1540, he purchased the share at 1250. So what is the return which the investor got, right? So in this case, the return is 32%. Similarly, the way you have calculated the return on the equity share, in a similar manner, you can also calculate return on the bond, right? So instead of dividend, I will call it interest. The only difference is the if you want to calculate the return of a bond or return of a equity share, the difference here in this formula, I am starting with, I will talk of many other things, right. So, return is interest at the end of the first year. So, I1 is the interest at the end of the end of the year, plus purchase price minus, selling price. P1 means price at the end of the year. I am talking of a bond or debenture. So, what is the price of the bond at the end of the year? That is P1. P0 is price of the bond at the beginning of the year, divided by the P0, price of the bond in the beginning of the year, into 100. So, that will give you the return of a bond. The same thing we are trying to understand with an example. So, Mr. Amit purchased a rupees 1000 bond, right, and 10% bond, which will give you interest income of 10% every year, maturing after 5 years at a price of rupees 950, right. So, the par value of the bond is 1000 rupees, but Mr. Amit has purchased this bond for rupees 950, and this bond will fetch an income of 10% to Mr. Amit, right. So, interest is 10%, and as you are well aware, the interest is always being given at the par value of the bond, not at the purchase price or the sale price. In our case, the par value of the bond is 1000. So, friends, interest is always given on the par value of the bond, not at the price at which any investor has purchases. So, the purchase price of Mr. Amit in our example is 950 rupees. So, he sold the bond after receiving interest income at the end of the year at a price of 975. That is, the selling price of the bond is 975. You have to calculate the return on this investment of Mr. Amit. So, the interest income, I1 is the interest income, is 100 rupees, plus the selling price minus the purchase price. Selling price is 975, right, which is a P1. P0 is the purchase price, which is 950, or the price at the beginning of the year. So, 950 divided by P0, price in the beginning, right, into 100 in order to calculate in terms of percentage. So, that gives a return of 13.16%, right. So, it means if the Mr. Amit invest in a bond of rupees 1000 at a price of 950 and disposed of this bond for rupees 975 after the end of the year, and the interest income which Mr. Amit has received is 10%, in that case the return on the bond will be 13.16%. we have calculated just now. So, what are the different types of returns? One is called average return, other is called expected return based on the probability distribution. The other one can be holding period return. These are different ways by which we can calculate the return, holding period return. And the last one I have written here is return on a portfolio. Portfolio means when you have a bouquet of investments, right. Normally, investor, in order to diversify the risk, don't invest in only one equity or one asset class, right. The investor invests in different asset class. You do invest in the bank FD, you do invest in the equity shares, you do invest in the bonds, you do invest in the real estate. There can be different asset class, you do invest in the gold. So, these different asset class have different degree of risk, and these asset classes have different return, right. So, how do you calculate the return of a portfolio? Portfolio means bouquet of investment, the bunch of investment, the bunch of different type of investment, so that your risk is being diversified. So, let me take one by one. First is average return. What is average return? Up till now, what we have done is we have presumed that an investor is purchasing at the beginning of the year, investor has sold the investment at the end of the year, and what is the return which the investor has received or got in a particular year, right. This we have calculated. Now, if you are holding the investment over a period of time, you are holding the investment for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, like that. What is the average return which the investor gets on a particular investment? This is the point of discussion, right. And as we know that every year the return may or may not be constant, right. So, if you are buying a bond, if you are buying a treasury bond, normally the rate of interest remain constant, and year after year you get the same rate of interest. But if you invest in if you invest in equity shares, the dividend income which you get may keeps on fluctuating. Sometime you may get higher rate of dividend, sometime you get lower rate of dividend. So your dividend income will keep on fluctuating. So if your holding period is X period, say any number of years, what is the average return which an investor gets by investing in that asset in a particular period of time? So that is called average return. So it is calculated by taking the average of returns earned every year over the assessment period, right? Say your assessment year period is 5 years. So if you are holding that asset for a period of 5 years, what is your average return? So it is helpful in comparing investment alternatives and building up expectation about the return of investment. You have always a choice whether you want to invest in a bond or whether you want to invest in a bank fixed deposit, right? Which investment will give you better return? I am presuming that both these investments have the same degree of risk. I am saying I am presuming you are investing in the treasury bills, you are investing in the government bonds, RBI bonds, which is relatively quite risk free, you may say, right? And you are making an FD in the bank, which is also in India is called relatively risk free. Relatively, I am saying. No investment is risk free, as I said in the beginning, but relatively bank FDs, government bonds, they are relatively risk free. So if you have to make the choice between the two, for you the risk is almost same in both these assets, right? So if you want to make in comparison, how will you make the comparison? The one way of making comparison is you compare the average return of a bank FD and the bond. I am presuming other things remaining constant. So whether you should invest in the bank FD or you should invest in a government bond, this is the choice you have to make. And one easy way of comparing the two is you calculate the average return of the two asset class, and whichever asset class gives you a higher return is more profitable to invest from return point of view, right? So what is average return? So average return R1, R2, Rn means return in the first period, return in the second period, up to return of n number of years. N number of years means the year for which you keep that investment. Supposing you keep the investment for 5 years, so Rn means the return in the 5th year. Divide by n, n means number of years. So you may say summation of R1 divided by n. Summation of R1 means I have written I is equal to first, from first period up to nth period, right? So return of nth period from first period to nth period divided by n means number of years. So return earned in a year for I means first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, and number of years for which investment is held. So let's take an example. Mr. Kabir wants to calculate average return of a share of Excel Limited currently available at a price of rupees 160 as on 31st December 2020. The share price at the end of the year 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20 were 100 rupees, 118 rupees, 130 rupees, 120 rupees, 140 rupees and 160 rupees respectively. Calculate the average return of Excel Limited share given that the share paid the following dividends in the last 5 years, right? So dividend in the last 5 years: 16 5 rupees, 17 5 rupees, 18 no dividend, 19 10 rupees, 20 5 rupees. This is the dividend income, that is which we call it revenue income. I said in the beginning there are two types of income. One is called revenue income, other is called capital income. Capital income means the income which is the difference between the P0 and P1, which is the difference between the purchase price and the selling price, or you may say the difference between the price at the end of the year and the difference in the price of end of the year and the beginning of the year. So what you are noticing here is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The stock price is given. At the 15, the share price was 100 rupees. At the end of 16, 118, 17, 130, 18, 120, 19, 140. At the end of the 2020, it was 160. And the dividend income which this investment has given, this share of Excel Limited has given, is 6 rupees in 16, right? 5 rupees in 17. No dividend in year 2018, 19 10 rupees, and 2020 5 rupees. So then capital gain. What is the capital gain? Price at the end of the year minus price at the beginning of the year. So capital gain in the 16 is 118 minus 100, that is 18 rupees. In the 17, 130 minus 118, that is 12 rupees, and so on and so forth, right? So you have calculated, although this is a notional, this means the difference in the price at the end of the year and price of the beginning of the year. So this is all notional capital gain, right? So 18, 20 minus 10, 20, 20. This is the difference in the price of the end of the year and the beginning of the year. So your total return is equal to capital gain or loss plus your dividend income. So 18 plus 6, 24, 12 plus 5, 17, no dividend, minus 10 in the year 2018, 19, again dividend income plus capital gain, that is 30 rupees, and lastly 2020, 5 rupees dividend and 20 rupees capital gain, 25 rupees. So what is the average return? As you have said, if you recollect, the formula is D1, dividend at the end of the year, plus P1, price at the end of the year, minus price in the beginning of the year, divided by P0, right? So your D1 in the first year is 6 rupees, plus your difference in the capital gain 18 rupees. So 18 plus 6, 24 rupees, divided by 100 rupees. So first year return is 24%. Second year your return is, again your total income is 17 rupees. So 17 rupees divided by 118, that comes to 14.41. The third year the income is minus 10. When I am saying income means your revenue income plus capital income. There is no revenue income, there is no dividend income. In the year 18, nil. The capital income is minus 10. Share price has fallen from 113 at the beginning of the year or at the end of 17. At the end of 18, it is 120 rupees. So the share price has fallen by 10 rupees. So capital loss is 10 rupees. So your return is minus 7.69. That is, your total return is minus 10 divided by 130, right? So this gives you minus 7.69. Similarly, you have calculated for 19 and 20, right? So if you make the summation of all these return in a different period of time, the formula is, N1, N2, N3, N3 means return in the first period, second period, third is summation of all the returns divided by N, right? So you have submitted 24% plus 14.41% plus minus 7.69% plus 25% plus 17.85% divided by 5. That gives you 14.71%. In this way, you can calculate the average return. So this is about your average return. See, other type of return which you can calculate is expected return based on probability distribution. Friends, up till now what we have discussed is what is risk, what is return. The return portion I have not discussed, the risk portion I have not discussed in this lecture. What I have discussed, I have started with what is return, right? So return, I said, is the expectation that whenever you make investments, you make investment with the expectation that this capital of yours will grow. So in whichever asset class you invest, whether it is equity share, whether it is bond, whether it is gold, whether it is real estate, whether it is painting, any investment which you make, right? All these investment you make with the expectation that this investment will, your value of this investment will grow. And this growth takes place in two forms. One is in form of your regular income. The other is in form of capital gain or loss. Means it is the difference. What is capital gain or loss? It is the difference between your selling price and the purchase price. And you presume that your selling price, whenever you make investment, you presume that the investment of which you are making, it will grow and the selling price will be higher. Selling price means price at the end of the year. If you are not disposing of, price at the end of the year will be higher than price of the beginning of the year. So thereby you may make a notional profit out of it, notional capital gain out of it, right? And you get some regular income. Like when you invest in an equity share, you get some regular dividend income or you get dividend income. So that is your revenue income. So in this way you calculate you get the return, right? So this, what we have discussed in this lecture is what is return, how do you calculate return on equity share, how do you calculate return on bond. Then we took an example in which we have shown that if you are holding the investment over a period of time, like in this last example which I took, an investor invest in an equity share, hold the shares for 5 years, right? The purchase price is if it's 100 rupees, at the end of the year it is 160 rupees, right? So what is the average return which that investor gets, right? So this we have just calculated. So there are two types of return: simple return, how do you calculate, and the average return if your holding period is over a time. I'll continue with this return in my next lecture also. Thank you.